Hi everybody, so I'm Tania. I'm from Salt Shaker Productions. This is my outfit which I set up to undertake projects of my own, and at the same time I also work for other projects, other clients, such as I produce the M1 Contact Contemporary Dance Festival that is for another art company called THE Dance Company. And so I have been a recipient, very lucky to undertake this residency in London with the Akram Khan Company. And my residency was started in January, it finished in mid-March, because I took a little bit of a break to do, crossover to Spain and to do some of my own studies for my other projects. Yeah, so my residency with the Akram Khan Company was mostly an attachment with Farouk Chowdhury, who is the producer. So let me go on to the next slide. Okay, so just backtracking. It covered the cities of London, Leicester, and Kunming. So next you'll see Farouk Chowdhury. So Farouk is aware of many hats. He is not just involved in the Akram Khan Company, he also is the producer of the English National Ballet. He's also CEO of Tim Yip Studios. I'll get to each of them later on. And he's also working with Yang Li Ping, a famous Chinese dancer who is based in Kunming. Yep, and the other is Akram Khan, the artistic director, choreographer, and dancer. Yep. Okay, so when I got to January, this was the best time for me to arrive in London, I was told. We were asked, which month would you like to go to? And of course, being a tropical girl, I said, I'd like to go in June, it's not so cold there. But then it's like, no, you have to be there because the opportunity to catch everything that's happening with the company happens in January with the launch of Until the Lions, their major production at a venue called the Roundhouse. So by the time I got in, they were already in a stage of completion, I would say. So I didn't get a chance to see right from the start, the idea stage, and how it's been developed. But what I got to see was the finishing stage, where just a couple of days before leading to the premiere, you get to see what the final touches are before the launch itself. And what was interesting to me upon reflection is that even at a very top class level, the work continues to be shaped. Right up to the launch date itself, you're still testing out a lot of ideas, and every single day the dancers are practicing. They get feedback at the end of every day. And it's a constant process of refining it. And even right till the launch itself, I think one of my areas of investigations was what do you do with the work after it is launched? How much input does, say, the artistic director put into it after that? And what is a so-called cutoff point? What is the input of the creative producer, in this case, Farouk? What's the process like when you have launched a work? Does it stay static? Does it move? What are the key decisions? What is a collaborative process? Because there's a whole team that's involved. It's not just the artistic director, but there are also 2 dancers. There were about 4 musicians. You do get the production team as well, the lighting and the stage people, and also the dramaturg. Yeah, so when I watched the dress rehearsal soon after I arrived, personally, I didn't quite like what I saw that time. Yeah, so I thought, okay, let me see a little bit more. Okay, so it wasn't a feeling that, wow, things were already smack there just a couple of days before the premiere. So I guess there was quite a bit of pressure and angst, leading up to that. But I would say that over time, after it did get launched, and the second time I saw the work, it was different. It was different, and I think it was the getting together, correcting it, made it better. And by the time it closed, I think Farouk himself, who also wasn't so convinced at the start, at the launch himself, he wasn't so convinced about the work. But by the time it closed to an audience of 17,000, he was convinced, it worked. So to me, it was a good, it's all about exposure. I think the trip that we take overseas to work with, to observe our host companies. It's a lot about exposure because we ourselves are in a learning process, and it helps to shed light on our own projects here in Singapore. So that was an interesting thing for me to note, and of course, being close to Farouk every time of my stay in London gives you the opportunity to exchange thought, feedback, views, so that you gain an insight into the creative process itself. Yeah. During my residency, I was going to mention that because Farouk is not just involved in one aspect of the Akram Khan Company, he's also involved in the ENB, English National Ballet. He also has meetings with many other parties like the venues, he goes for event launches and all that, and he gives a lot of talk. So I roamed with him, and I use the word roam because even though there is a office, the AKC office, I've only been there twice in my entire time there. So, and actually it came to me as a relief because that probably, I'm not very much of an office person. So I like to go out to be there where the action is. And boy, was I so relieved when he said to me, I don't like to go to the office that much either. So yeah, it was good. So the philosophy is that you go out to where the action is, you go out to where the client is, you go out to the center where the activity or the arts is. And it fits me perfectly well. I think we all have different personalities, but I do believe that you, in order to make networks, in order to know what is happening out there, in order to get your feeler out there, it's good as a producer to be out there, connected there, and not so much to be behind the desk. And one other learning point that I gained in my talks with Farouk, his own lesson from his mentor was that his mentor said to him, for every one day that you are in the office, you are wasting your company's money. And that woke him up. It woke him up and he said, golly, let me get out into the world. And so for the first few years of the company, he had a crazy schedule. I don't know what schedule he had. It sounded like 1 in every 3 days he's out of London. Yeah, and he was that active in going out to make the connections. And I think that's one reason why he is so successful. A lot of this learning is to observe people of excellence, to understand what their thinking is, how they take the action. And so this was one of my learning points as well. The roamer does not stay behind the office. Okay, he goes out. Yeah, okay. Another point, let's say about Until the Lions, is that, so the work doesn't stay static. It continues to change. Another story that he shared was when Akram launched their first work, it was really, really, really successful. And a lot of people, got to know him, and the expectations were built so high that by the time they got to their second work, again, they had to live up to the expectations. And unfortunately, that particular work had really harsh critic. I think it really bombed out. And from the high tower, they were totally crushed, not knowing, oh my gosh, why is it being slammed so much? And people just passed him off as a one-night artist, just good enough for one show launch, and where is he going to go after that? The learning point was that as a creative producer, you're going to meet a lot of such occasions. Not everybody's going to say, wow, that was a fantastic work. You're not always going to have a box office smash hit. So I think the qualities of a person, whether you're a creative producer or not, or you could be, doing some other non-related work to the arts, but a lot of it has to do with the character. They're not afraid to make mistakes. They make the mistake. It's okay, but to know where the mistake was, look back at the work and know why it failed, what else can be tailored and changed, and to have the courage to change the work. So they got all the resources together, they worked on that second piece of work, and then they called back the producers, the venue programmers to have a look at it. confidently that this was going to be a good work. And true enough, it was their saving grace. Yeah, so I think if they had let themselves collapse, things would have been different today. But the fact that you rise to challenge, 17 years later, they've been growing really steadily, and it's carried them through. So there are many risk unknowns that we take on as a producer going forward. But I think it's the attitude and the character that tides us through the unknown. Yeah. Next. Okay, so the different roles of a producer. So Ching Lee talked a little bit about it, and I had the chance to observe Farouk in his different roles, because with the English National Ballet, you see one aspect of him. He is working to secure the tours. He does finance management. He manages finance as well, together with the finance director. We attend regular meetings with the English National Ballet, and it's really good when all the departments get together. You hear the points of views. It's all done in very polite English, teacup kind of ambiance. So I'm at my best behavior usually when I'm there. Yeah, but they've been really open to let you observe their meetings and also talk about private matters. Yeah. He also does what I call creative matchmaking. For example, he he has the opinion that, okay, as a ballet dancer, you could be open to other influences as well. And because he roams quite a lot around the world, he can see what are the potential artists he can matchmake to his own company's dancers, whether it's Akram Khan Company or in the English National Ballet. So in the instance, in the case, 1 week when I was there, we were watching rehearsals from a Chinese artist. Yep, she was from Beijing, and she was teaching the ballet dancers her art. And that he felt that was really good as well. So as a creative producer, he spots who are the talents that he can bring together, not just for work, but to be able to influence the way, in this case, dancer, the artist, can improve or respond or be better at their art through a different form totally. Yeah. So that's, let's see. Another artist he's worked with is Yang Li Ping. The top there shows you a work called Under Siege. Under Siege is, for those of us who, sorry, here it is. Yeah, that's Yang Li Ping. She's famous for peacock dance in China. Yeah, and the last part of my residency involved going to Kunming for 10 days to observe them, again, in the final stages of cleaning up their production, because she's created a work called Under Siege. She came from an ethnic background, and she's going into contemporary. This major work is going to be launched in Sadler's Wells at the last part of this year. And the Chinese aesthetics is a bit different from the Western aesthetics. So she wanted to bring on board a creative team that could tailor the work for a Western audience. And it was an interesting process, firstly, to go to China and observe their production environment. Day one, when I entered the theater, I had no clue what was happening, because no other people had no clue what was happening. So, here in Singapore, we're very used to having a production schedule, and all your team members know exactly what's happening at what time. But over there, it was so fluid, like time was super elastic, and you sit there looking at, geez, what's happening? And so that's one being, working in a different environment. And I think for the overseas team too, I think there are cultural challenges too, in terms of the language, in terms of perhaps wavelength as well. Yeah. For example, a lot of next picture will show you. Okay. So meetings that we had after the rehearsals, if you see that the team looks somewhat distant and tense, you're probably right, because that's when you get together and you exchange feedback about the creative process. And here we're needing to tread sensitively as well, but frankly, about what needs to be changed. And so there's always that little bit of artistic negotiation and tension when you talk about someone's personal vision. At the same time, as a producer, you don't want to dominate such that the artistic vision is eroded. Yang Li Ping's voice had to be heard, and there was a certain negotiation there about how the work had to be shaped. Yeah. So that was Kunming, very quickly. The other lady here is Kartika Nair, who is a dramaturg for Yang Li Ping, and she also wrote the book Until the Lions, which Akram's work was based on. Yeah. The next one is Underdog Sinner. So Farouk also is not just is involved in working with emerging artists, not just top-class artists like Akram. In this case, when we drove all the way to Leicester, again, it's a final stage of the production before the premiere 3 days later. It's a solo work. It's about a dancer who has a Kathak background. Although she's really experienced in Kathak, she is totally new to contemporary dance. So technically, she's not brilliant, but she's trying to bridge this her practice to go into a new area of art. So in this case, the producer took on a role that was very, very. He was really nice to her for all her, what I observed for an artist of a certain level, there is a certain discipline, that is required. But in this case, sometimes it was not there. But at the same time, he was really encouraging, and it's about being a producer, wearing different hats to different people. So he was not harsh to her. He was always very positive, and he was always very, very encouraging and seeking to draw out the best in her. And I was quite impressed by that, because for someone who's worked with so many top-class artists, you could be really, really demanding and say, hey, why is this not, well rehearsed, or why is, this person hasn't gotten the act together. But it was quite impressive that the amount of patience that he had with her. And in the end, at the last short 3 days, even as we were driving to Leicester, I was asking him, so what can you do in the last 3 days leading to the work? Because for me, it's like 3 days is really short. But it was really nice to see that in 3 days, it was very fruitful, the journey of giving feedback to her, building her confidence and adjusting things such as the lighting, the choreography, even down to props. And it was collaborative too, because I was also asked to give feedback, and our lighting designer was asked to give feedback. So collaboratively, the work got there. And of course, it was a really good experience for her. I hope she goes on to build her career in this new form. Yep, Farouk is also involved with Tim Yip Studios. I'm not sure if everybody if some of us know Tim Yip. He won the Oscar for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and for Best Art Direction. Yeah, so in this case, Farouk as CEO is CEO, and he's involved he's quite keen on the Chinese market, which is why he's working with Yang Li Ping and Tim Yip Studios. And Tim Yip has got mega projects in USA as well as in China. So Farouk's also involved in that part of it. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. Yeah. Okay, my next part is about certain reflections or certain issues that when I can relate it back to Singapore. When you go out into the world and you see things, and makes you reflect a little bit about either in Singapore or your own projects or so. And it talks about manpower, people talent, in relation to the artists, the administrators, managers, and producers. So when I was there, it was interesting to note that there is a lack of talents and manpower. That the Arkham Khan company was trying to find another administrator. They don't have enough help. And Farouk was looking also for extra. He's also involved in skincare business, and he was looking for extra help as well. We met Nitin Soni. He's involved in many pies. Okay, so one of the pie is a skincare business. So we met people like Nitin Soni. Again, they are also short of manpower. Yep, Tim Yip Studios as well. And I think in Singapore, one question is, do we have? I personally find it really hard to attract. Talented manpower as well, and people who are interested in learning, pursuing something they love rather than seeing it as a job that ticks the criterion of stability, of environment or income. Maybe a common feedback is to look for people who can be interested in the acquisition of knowledge and the experience, and putting in that personal investment that money cannot buy. Yeah, so that's one area that I feel, for me in Singapore, I don't know about some of y'all, it's tough to find. And how do we then attract these people to enter this field? Creative producers being one of them. Yeah. And in terms of people talent, how do we also create a sustainable environment and atmosphere for them to firstly be attracted and to be sustained? Because salaries here in Singapore, you think about that, is that something that is sustainable for the artists as well as producers? I work in the dance industry, and dancers are not always that highly paid. In London, I suppose a wake-up call is that they're called highly specialized workers. But in Singapore, our artists, or not all our artists or dancers, are called highly specialized workers. So it's a point of reflection, because if you want to attract the people, the arts and the artists and creative producers, you do need to have a certain support for them. And it's also about changing attitudes, people's attitude to what the value of an artist is. So these are things that I reflected upon when I was there. And to me, it's about sustainability too, and attracting the right talents. Yeah. I think my time's run out, so I'm going to stop here. But for those of us, if you're interested in catching up later on, we can do so. I would talk about the accidental path of the producers as well, because to me it was very interesting to meet producers like Farouk Chowdhury, the producer of Sidi Labi, Chekawi, and Anand Bhatt, the producer of Akash Odedra, who stumbled onto the path. It was about following their passion and their interest. It's not about them being calculative. It's about them going onto the path and seeing what the path speaks to them, and they responding to it. So, okay. I've got another slide, but you can see that later on. I'm sharing Farouk's list of highly desired qualities. Okay, and it's not private because he did give it to us in a talk, but it's wonderful. I'm going to have a quick litany and end off with this litany. Okay, so it's love, passion, being a dreamer, to work unbelievably hard, take risk and to enjoy, be enthusiastic about change, endurance, willpower, strength, grace, rebelliousness, patience, flexibility, consistency, or optimism, the need for high achievement, ability to recognize and admit mistakes, good listener, good communicator, jump, sense of humor, not to panic in crisis, authenticity, jump, a sense of adventure, fearlessness, empathy, and if you don't have these qualities, then find them in your team. Thank you.